Good afternoon, Java students. We're now moving on to the topic of inheritance. So I would assume the first question would be, what is inheritance? And the answer is it's an important and powerful feature for you to be able to reuse code that you wrote over and over again, or for someone else to be able to use code you wrote over and over again. Code that you encapsulated. You created a class and you made sure that class encapsulated all the attributes and all the behaviors necessary. Inheritance enables you to define a general class, sometimes called the superclass, or you'll hear me probably refer to it as the parent class. Then later you can extend it to more specialized or specific classes. So the parent class or general class is extended by the subclass or child class. And again, I kind of prefer parent and child. The child or subclass inherits the fields and behaviors of its parent. So this is the child class. It looks up and it inherits everything in that parent class, all the fields and all the behaviors from the parent class. The child or subclass inherits the fields behaviors from its parent. The parent is called the superclass, the base class, or the parent class. The child is called the subclass, and I believe we just introduced derived class or child class. Sub, derived, or child, super, base, or parent, and again, I like child parent. The child class has all the characteristics of the parent class plus additional fields and behaviors more specific to whatever the child class is or is about. How do you establish inheritance? It's real simple. It's this keyword extends. The child extends the parent. So the keyword extends is how you create an inheritance relationship between two classes. The child class extends the parent. And it's going to look like this. Public class child extends parent. So Java is a single inheritance language. When we speak of a single inheritance language, that means a child class has one and exactly one parent. Each class in Java has exactly one parent. Every class that we have used up to this moment has had one and exactly one parent. Each parent class in Java can have unlimited child classes. The child knows of its parent class, but the parent class has no clue about the children or children class. So the child can see up and look at the parent, but the parent has no way of looking down to see the child. The opposite of Java, which is a single inheritance language, is something like C++, which is a multi-inheritance language. In C++, a child can have multiple parents and a parent can have multiple children. James Gosling believes that Java can do everything C++ can do, but without all that complexity. So once we start in multiple inheritance, it's kind of like tracing through a pile of spaghetti. It gets multi-inheritance is almost impossible to comprehend. With multi-inheritance, you're going to create a relationship that's eventually going to be all over the place like spaghetti. It's said that with multi-inheritance, you could build code so complex that you can't understand it. To set up inheritance, you're going to use these new two statements, is-a or is-a-kinda. So you remember when we create a class, you use the has-a statement. A person has a name. A person has an address. a person has a phone number. But when you're determining a child-parent relationship, you're going to use the new statement is a or is a kinda. For example, a student is a kind of person. A dog is a animal. A car is a automobile. A toaster is an appliance. A football game is a kind of sport. A house is a kind of building. So when you're in a child class, what is the name that you would use to refer to the parent class? And that answer is a new keyword called super. So in the child class, if I use the keyword super, I am referring to that child class's one and only one parent class. New rule will be the first line in every single constructor method needs to call the constructor method in the parent class. So the first line in every single constructor method needs to call the constructor method in its parent class. Every class has a parent, exactly one, and every class will call the constructor method in its parent. Inheritance steps. First thing you're going to do is you're going to have your child class extend the parent class. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to change the constructor in the child class so that it refers to the constructor in the parent class. Remember, the first line in your constructor is a call to the constructor in the parent class. Then you're going to change the toString in the child class to refer to the toString in the parent class. To make a child object, you need to provide all information that would be needed to make a parent object, plus everything to make a child object. Method overriding. Method overriding occurs when a method exists with the exact same signature in both the parent class and the child class. If a method is called from a child object, Java will look within the child class for that method. If it finds it, that method will be run within the child class. If that method is not found, Java will look up into the parent class for that method and it'll execute that method. So here's an example of a child-parent relationship. If this child class tries to fire a method, it's going to look here first. If it's not in here, it's going to look here next. If it's not, it's here. It's going to look here, then here, then here. And if it's in none of those, it's going to look at the grandfather of all classes here. So if you recall, we already covered the topic of method overloading. And method overloading is not the same or not equal to method overriding. A lot of students get that confused. Completely two different concepts. Okay, that's all I got to say for now. Next video, I'll show you some examples.